Now, as a Doctor Who fan, I have been repeatedly thinking about one thing. Let me explain. David Tennant. David Tennant. David Tennant. David Tennant. David Tennant. Don't know why Toast is just such an interesting way to frame a video, but you know, each to their own. With the exciting news that David Tennant is returning and Catherine Tate is returning, I have just been incredibly excited. But also, I've been trying to work out what David is this. Because when this was announced, this was what Russell had to say on it.
They're back, and it looks impossible. First, we announce a new Doctor, and then an old Doctor, along with the wonderful Donna. So what on earth is happening? Maybe this is a missing story, or a parallel world, or a dream, or a trick, or a flashback.
Now this intrigued me, and I think it's important that we look at what David and Donna this is. Where are they from? What can we do some theorising? Am I going to become like a Doctor Who theory channel? Oh my god, I mean, I need my own niche, so why not? Now, this is the cool time to announce to you that this is kind of a sequel to one of my more recent videos, which I'll link in the card and on the end screen, which was, is this David being 10 or what's been called 14? If you're involved in the fandom, you'll know about the theory that he might be 14 or obviously could be returning as the 10th Doctor. However, at the end of that video, I teased that I wanted to look at whether David could be an alternate universe Doctor, like maybe the Parallel Earth version or just an alternative universe. So, this is that video. Like I just kind of gave you all that information. Like, if you didn't gather that this was the sequel video, then you've kind of been missing the point. First of all, let's discuss this theory. Is David the Metacrisis Doctor? Now, if you didn't know and need a little refresher, do you remember this bloke from Stolen Earth Journey's End?
It's you!
Oh yes. That didn't refresh your memory, let me just remind you. He was created through some regeneration shenanigans, but basically what ends up happening is we get an extra human version of David Tennant as the 10th Doctor, as a mix of him and Donna. And where that episode ends up with that character is he ends up going back to Rose's parallel Earth with Rose and staying with him. Now, quite a few people in my comment section have been suggesting this. I'm not convinced. The only thing I do like about this theory is it could be a way to not mess so much with Donna's arc. Just because obviously at the end of series 4 she loses her memory, and I feel like I'm still a bit nervous that if this is 14 and we're going back and kind of messing with that plot a little bit, I'm not personally sure. So obviously this means he can meet alternative universe Donna, bish bash bosh. And also, I guess, in his deleted scene, he was given his own version of the TARDIS, sort of.
This universe is in need of defending. Chunk of TARDIS.
So it does mean feasibly he could have his own TARDIS and go off on adventures. But overall, I think that was a nice ending, and I think you'd end up messing about with some of the Rose stuff a bit too much. Also, I think if you ever are going to use that, it's probably when David is like 70, 80, and you want an excuse to why he's aged so much, because that Doctor is human, you can bring him back but still have David Tennant. That's probably where bringing back the Metacrisis Doctor makes the most sense, if that makes sense. I'm awful at being a YouTuber. However, another alternative universe David Tennant could make a lot more sense. Or parallel world. We usually use parallel world a lot more in the Doctor Who universe. One of the problems I find with this specifically being 10 or 14 is the costume we've seen in filming pics. You see, it is different to anything he ever would have worn as 10. Then if it is 14, why does he go back to a costume that's so similar yet slightly different? That doesn't ring true with me. So I think this idea of an alternate universe 10th Doctor could make more sense, because obviously in alternate or parallel universes, subtle changes get made and a little bit of a costume change, whilst still being quite similar to what he would have worn anyway, is a good way to kind of show these alternate universe type things. Again, we've got to talk about Donna. I don't think they should go back and ruin the old Donna arc, so having this again being an alternative universe Donna could solve a lot of those issues. Another little point. People have been talking about how Jodie's TARDIS being in the filming pictures means it has to be 14. And to me, that is a big bit of evidence why I don't believe this is the 10th Doctor coming back. However, to do a parallel Earth Doctor story, you're going to need some form of reason behind doing that. If we're talking about time maybe being messed about with, or some things happening, or it's kind of maybe being linked to some stuff happening in the Centenary, well, that argument does work for 14. I don't think you can discount this being an alternative universe just because of the TARDIS, because I think if time was getting messed about with a bit, it's very feasible. Also, people are forgetting it could just be that that was the TARDIS model they had about. Maybe the TARDIS hasn't, sometimes production issues might be saved, that's just how the way these things work. Also, if some feel like David Tennant aging is a bit of a problem, having it be in an alternative universe could be a nice way around that. Now here's the question, do I think this is alternate universe? At the end of the day, I do think this is 14. I've been doing a bit of speculating over the last couple of videos, and I think David being 14 is the choice I'm most worried about, but it's also the choice that the evidence points to the most. So, that's my guess, but I don't think people should count out any form of parallel universe Doctor yet. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you want to watch part 1, you can click it here. Part 1, it's just excuses really to make videos about David Tennant, because I just love the bloke so much. Have fun.